The most expensive line item in a $145 billion budget isn't servers, or chips, or the electricity to run them. It's the people who got fired to pay for them. Mark Zuckerberg just laid off 8,000 employees, roughly the population of a small city, and called it an investment decision. That's not a metaphor. He said it out loud, in a memo, to the remaining employees. To understand what's happening, you have to understand how frontier AI gets funded. Training a cutting-edge model costs hundreds of millions. Running it at scale costs more. The infrastructure, custom silicon, data centers, cooling costs billions before a single user clicks anything. Meta's $145 billion AI budget for 2025 is not a rounding error. It's larger than the GDP of Morocco. Here's how the math works in Zuckerberg's head. A senior Meta engineer costs roughly $500,000 a year in total compensation. 8,000 of those engineers is about $4 billion annually. That's real money, but it's also exactly the kind of recurring cost you shed when you're making a one-time capital bet on infrastructure. Headcount is a subscription. GPUs are a purchase. Think of it like a shipping company that decides to go electric. You don't gradually electrify your fleet while keeping your entire team of diesel mechanics on full payroll. You make a hard cut. The mechanics aren't the future. The problem is that unlike truck mechanics, these people built the product you're currently shipping. They're not legacy infrastructure. They made the thing. This isn't the first time tech has done this. IBM cut 60,000 employees in the early 90s to pivot to consulting. Microsoft laid off 18,000 in 2014 to absorb Nokia, which turned out to be one of the most expensive ways in history to learn that Finland doesn't have infinite smartphone talent. The playbook is old. Only the zeros are new. What makes this moment different is the asymmetry. AI models, once trained, don't need salaries. They don't take equity. They don't require a standing desk or a kombucha on tap. A model doing the work of a mid-level analyst costs fractions of a cent per query. The economics of artificial intelligence are structurally different from the economics of human intelligence, and capital has noticed. But here's what the math misses. Models don't generate products, teams do. The instinct, the taste, the judgment about what's worth building lives in people. Anthropic and OpenAI aren't beating Meta purely on compute. They retained researchers who care about specific problems deeply enough to work through the hard ones. Capital can buy GPUs. It has a worse track record buying breakthroughs. So the real question isn't whether $145 billion is too much to spend on AI. It might not be. The real question is whether the 8,000 people shown the door were actually friction, or whether they were the part of the machine that made the other parts meaningful. Zuckerberg is betting on the former. History has a complicated relationship with bets that size. Every major technology shift has a moment where capital decides it's done being patient with people. The railroads did it. The auto industry did it. Cloud computing did it. The difference is that this time, the thing being built is supposed to think. Which makes you wonder, genuinely wonder, what it's learning from watching how it's being funded. Strip away the headlines and what remains is a single uncomfortable equation: $145 billion going in, 8,000 people going out, and a bet that the thing being built will eventually outperform the people who were cut to fund it. Meta isn't the first to make this trade. Railroads, auto, cloud all have the same chapter. What's different now is the nature of the asset being acquired. Previous pivots replaced people with machines that did narrower work. This one replaces people with machines that are supposed to do the same work, only cheaper, faster, and without the overhead of caring about it. That's not an incremental upgrade. That's a claim about what human contribution is actually worth at the frontier. Capital has rendered its verdict. The question is whether the verdict is correct, or just early. What strikes us isn't that this decision was made, it's that the memo made it sound tidy. 8,000 people, reduced to a line in an investment thesis, framed as friction being cleared from the path to something better. We don't think Zuckerberg is wrong that the economics have shifted. We think he might be right in exactly the way that makes it most worth sitting with. Because the models being trained right now are learning from everything humans have built, written, and decided, including this. And if the lesson embedded in the funding structure is that human judgment is valuable until the moment it becomes inconvenient, then here's what we genuinely can't answer. What does the system learn about us from watching how we treat each other when the numbers get large enough?